Say good morning. It's good to see you guys. Kirsten Liebelt, jump on in. Jump on in. Excuse me. Should have taken a sip of water before I jumped on. So if you do not know, every day at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, this is where we kind of hang out as our own little advocates of insulin resistance, right? We've been doing this for like a year, you guys, Monday through Friday, for a freaking year. And then there is resourcing beyond that, right? Excuse me. So the group is called Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. We do a 5-day reset, like an insulin resistant. I kind of unofficially named it this 5-day insulin resistant reset so you can freaking lose weight challenge, something like that. Okay, so that is basically though where I come from in my universe. So I know I get a lot of new people on my content, especially on TikTok. Come on in from the balcony. My entire life from being like a little girl was all about type 2 diabetes in my family, being Italian, loving food, all of the things. Very much the driver of then when I ended up gestational with my first baby, hypoglycemic with my second baby. By the time I'm 30, my dad had died. He was only 63. And I literally like just kind of floated and continued on this continuum of not paying any attention to anything until I was in my upper 40s. And so I just turned 60 a couple weeks ago, and I entered my 50s like a total wreck, train wreck. When your insulin is high, it actually tips over. This is the way my brain works. Because, I'm not going to explain anything scientifically because I'm not a doctor. So this is how I do things just in my brain. Welcome to the pictures of my mind. It's like the insulin is rising for years and decades before anything else happens. So you don't even know you're insulin resistant because they're not pulling a fasting insulin test. And it's literally toppling all of your other hormones. So by the time you hit your 40s, you're like, crazy person. You're just crazy because of perimenopause and all your other hormones turned upside down because of your insulin. Or with your insulin, it's much more layered and deep than what I would make it out to be. So if you want insulin resistance for dummies, join in my content and follow. And if you are on the replay, let me know you're on the replay. And I would love to just say, listen, if you think that this information is helpful on any given day, please share it out. Please hit the like button. Please double tap on TikTok. Do all of the things. Subscribe if you're on YouTube, because I was going to do my topic on this today, and I'm not going to. Maybe I'll do it for tomorrow. Today, we're going to talk about what I learned in a mindset training yesterday so that we can, I feel like this is so very important as to why we do things we don't want to do and why we don't do what we're supposed to do when it comes to maybe our health or food or whatever. But somebody had texted me yesterday, and she basically said, "Good morning, Magda. Good to see you." She basically gave me a little rundown of what her doctor said, and kind of he laughed in her face a little bit when she said she thought insulin resistance could be reversed. So the battle is strong. The battle that we're swimming upriver, people. So I always consider it such a blessing if somebody you stumble, you just tripped over your big toe and you landed on my content. And I'm like, just hang out for a little while, because I feel like your hope is going to increase. You'll feel encouraged and you'll feel very resourced. 5 days a week right here, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Group Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. 5-day challenge every single month. Next one will be in March. Plus, when you get into the group, you will be tagged in a free recipe pantry PDF. And if you would like my protein guide, you have to message me in my message box and tell me you want the protein guide. Just say protein guide. I'll know what you mean. And I can get that to you. All right. So we're going to jump into this today. Oh, I just loved this so much. So I took a training yesterday. Phyllis from Arkansas. You're going to switch to YouTube, bigger screen. Oh my. Okay. Well, I'll make sure that my makeup looks, I'm just kidding. Very good, Phyllis. It's nice to have you joining us today. Very good. So last fall in the group. So have you guys ever heard of Jenny Potter? This is not from Jenny Potter, but have you heard of her before? I sent some of you a book. I think that was in December. I had a bunch of books given to me by Jenny Potter because I met up with her at a conference. And she wrote the book, Self-Sabotage No More. So last fall, we went through that book in the group, Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. And every Monday night for like 6 weeks or something, we went through it. And then I had the pleasure of interviewing her. And then I met up with her at a conference and she gave me a stack of her books. Oh man, I don't want to say it wrong. And I don't have it by me. Shoot, I thought maybe I had me. Stuck No More. Stuck No More. That's what it is because it's Self-Sabotage No More, so Stuck No More. So I sent that out to like, I don't even know, maybe 15 of you just as orders came in at the beginning of December. Okay. Anyway, so I'm very interested in this because remember when I tell you guys my story and at the beginning of my 50s, when I decided to finally trade out my foods, like the whole reason why I started with supplements is because I honestly never thought I could trade out my food. Like this is just a real part of my story because I was positive that being Italian and having so many heart connections to food and so many tracks in my mind about food, which we all have, by the way, that I wasn't going to be able to do it. So information or help from somebody like Jenny Potter is super helpful because listen, nothing is as it seems it is when it comes to us leveling up our health. When it comes to us, like for me, building a business, building a good marriage, having successful finances, having successful relationships, having successful anything in your life, and that could be your health in 2025. So it's always, almost always, we are not doing what we know we're supposed to do because of things that took place way back when we were kids, messages that we were given. So I'm going to explain this to you today. I'm very excited to bring you this information. This mindset training was fire. Is that the right word to say? It was really, really good. Because again, if we can understand why we either don't do what we're supposed to do or why we are, like sabotaging ourselves, like you can actually put the key into the lock and unlock it. Maybe for the first time. And this is why one of my core values is no shame. Do it with me. Like wipe off any shame. This is why I do that. Wipe it off. No shame. That's why I say that to you guys a lot, like whether it's here or in the group, because that's what I had to learn. And now I know how valuable that is for other people. So when I hit my early 50s, I had just started to supplement. I always talk about that, 3 supplements that help with insulin sensitivity. So I start with these, right? That's the trio. You can always message me, get into my inbox and say trio, TRIO, and I'll tell you about those. However, so I just had started doing that. I could tell that my cravings were subsiding and that my appetite was starting to simmer down. Things were changing in my body. I'm thinking, okay, I'm finally going to deal with my food. So my story is that I took time, 3 to 4 years. I wasn't planning on that. Don't be confused, but I took time to assess my world. So let's talk about now how maybe I could give you just 3 tips today as to how you can assess your world. Okay. And this mindset training fit right in because it was like, yes, unknowingly, this is where I tell you guys like God just gives me answers and then I reverse engineer why I got the answer. Like, I just am so like grateful that I walked that journey. Nobody told me to walk the journey. Nobody named it. Nobody called it anything. I didn't read a book, nothing. Like it was just me and Jesus in my head going, I got to figure this out. And why does that bother me? And why does that trigger me? And what was I taught as a kid and all these things. So I kind of did it on my own, just me and the Lord. And then now I understand, wow, if people could grasp this, you could go further faster. Good morning, Patty. Good morning. Oh, Phyllis, stop. You're a doll, Phyllis. I would like put that up on the screen for everybody to see, but I don't think that would be very humble of me. You're very sweet, Phyllis. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's dive in. Okay, so this is really about Have you ever wondered like why you know exactly what to do, but you just don't do it? It's not a lack of willpower. I say this a lot for you guys. Your subconscious is literally keeping you safe in the most unexpected ways. Let's talk about it and how to break free from the cycle. So this is a mechanism that God gave you so that you could be safe. And if you don't recognize that, you're maybe beating yourself up thinking you're lame. You suck. You don't have any discipline. You have no discipline anywhere to be found, anywhere in the universe. Like, how would you ever be a disciplined, routined person? Well, this is what was in my brain, right? But hold on, just throw that out for a second or longer. And let's go into a more scientific thought process that can help you walk through this literally without shame. Okay. So just think about that in the morning when you get up and your first thought is being mean to yourself about what you ate or didn't eat yesterday, or what how your jeans are fitting this morning, and you're not properly assessing that maybe you have some bloating going on. It had nothing to do with gaining fat. It just was, bloating or whatever. Stand in front of the mirror and just say, no shame. There's no shame on me as I walk my journey. Okay. All right, let's go. So these are the notes that I put down, like on computer from my actual notes of the training. So your subconscious is wired. God made you. Oh, you are so fearfully and wonderfully made. You are the best, the finest, the Porsche of computers. So your subconscious is wired to protect and soothe you. It's not necessarily working against you, but it does keep you actually from being uncomfortable. So when you come up to something that's uncomfortable, your subconscious tries to protect you. Okay. So by the age of seven, your ego, which is just your, it's your subconscious. So we're just going to shorten it, say ego, but that's basically what we're talking about. Not ego, you're egotistical. Your subconscious steps in. It's keeping you safe, and it wants things to be predictable. Okay. So right around the age of 7, by the time you're 14, you're actually more on autopilot. All right. So now whatever's happened to you, whether it is, and he explained it, like he said, you could have tiny micro traumas or you could have macro traumas. So a tiny micro would be like, you're in the crib and you're crying, and you have a mom that, she's alone in the house and she can't get to you because, whatever, like, who knows, she's putting out a fire on the kitchen stove and you just have to cry it out, whatever. Maybe a micro of like, oh, somebody didn't come right away. Okay. That's micro, and it's very common and normal. Okay. So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just explaining what he explained. The second thing would be like a macro trauma, like you can imagine, like if there was any sexual abuse or any, physical abuse or something like that, that would be macro trauma. So by the time you're 14, here we go. You are on autopilot. So all of those traumas, those life events have already shaped your and my reactions. Are you tracking? Let me know in the comments if you are tracking. If this makes sense to you, let me know. I'd love to know. And TikTok, I apologize if I'm reading notes and I can't see you guys all the time as you're coming in. So thank you for joining. Keep on joining. I appreciate it so much, you guys. I really do. So your brain literally is releasing chemicals like cortisol, to keep you from stepping outside of your comfort zone. All right, now you're going to ask me how this is all going to apply to us and food and all the stuff. And obviously, we're going to talk about it. So you might find it hard to sit down and rest because that's what you were modeled. Like, so if you had a mom or a dad that they just could never sit down, they just were go, 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 go. You have this autopilot reaction to just go, 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 go. Can I mention the name of the guy? And is there more training available? I am going to... his name is Ryan Bremer, but I don't remember the spelling of his name. So I'm not positive, Jean, but thank you for asking. I will see if I can find it. I wrote down Brimmer, Brimmer, but I think I'm wrong. His name wasn't on the screen, so I'm not sure. Now, if you want more training, he did like Psycho-Cybernetics was a book that he referenced. Okay. And then Jenny Potter. And if you're in the group, Jean, in the Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women group, I think Guide 6 we're going through Jenny Potter's book, Self-Sabotage No More. So this is very similar in information. So your subconscious is always looking for patterns. All right. What feels familiar? What feels safe? When you feel good, like after a big win, your subconscious might be trying to bring you back to balance by self-sabotaging. Like even we're talking about good feelings. It's not just bad feelings. It could be good feelings. And you're always pulled back to like hold back that joy or like self-sabotage so that we don't have more of the negative that was taking place as we were kids. Okay. So you get excited about a new habit, but then you suddenly stop because your subconscious is defaulting back to its old programming. So it's kind of like that rubber band, and back we go, and back we go, and back we go. Okay. So do you understand that this is why shame doesn't even make sense in this conversation? Because we're talking about an autopilot. Okay. So just understand that. Now, how to rewire. These are some of the steps that he kind of like talked about. And I feel like this would be really helpful for you. Okay. So probably about it's either 3 or 4 steps. So first, become aware. Now, this is kind of what I did. I started to assess myself back in my early 50s. I started to assess. Start identifying your subconscious patterns. Audit yourself by writing down everything you do for 3 to 5 days. Notice where you default into old habits. And then ask, what is my 7-year-old self holding on to? So if you were to write that down, like what maybe that would have looked like for me had I done anything that was remotely systematic, because I didn't. Maybe you would write down every time you felt. I mean, I remember the first time that I actually had the thought, Kirsten, just allow that feeling. Because if you allow the feeling that you're feeling in the moment, you can assess it and find out its connection. Now, again, this had to come from God because I was not reading any type of literature like this. This was not my default. Yeah, sure. 25 years earlier, I took a class in college on, psychology, but that was not my bent or anything. And so I just all of a sudden, here I am in my 50s. I'm like a, 51-year-old lady who had never slowed down long enough to assess my own feelings and emotions that were really created in me way back when I was a little girl in my Italian family, all of this type 2 and obesity, and people were always sick, and it was always very much, it's just genetic, so they can't help themselves and all of this stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Carol's in the house. Thank you, Carol. I so appreciate you. And if I do that over here, I'll get hearts on my Instagram. There we go. And so all of these things that, I was already on autopilot by the time I was 14. I didn't know any of this. So I'm assessing myself and I'm thinking like, okay, like that just bothered me inside of that social setting, whatever it was. Why? And I would pause. I would be aware. So if for 3 days, even if you didn't do 5 days, if you did 3 days of just being aware and jotting down, like every time maybe you had an emotion about food, let's just take it there now. A good emotion, a happy emotion, maybe you're bored, I'm not even talking about you fixing your behavior right now. I'm just talking about awareness. He said, just spend some time becoming aware. Like just allow yourself to be aware without any shame. Okay. So that's what he's saying is audit yourself like a tax audit. Do it for your behaviors. Write down everything you do for 3 to 5 days. Notice where you default into old habits. Oh, I'm stressed, so I eat. Oh, I'm bored. I feel like I deserve something. I didn't have that in the house. I went to the store to get it. Whatever it is, okay? And then force the next step after you've audited yourself, blah, blah, blah. Then begin to be somebody who forces the next step. You disrupt the old program. Your brain loves familiarity. So you need to break the cycle with conscious action. Okay. Now for me, they're giving the example. He was giving the example. If your pattern is avoiding risk, do the opposite in small, intentional ways. For me, my default was to actually, while I was learning to deal with an emotional connection in my brain and in my heart, I went to the route of I'm going to stop shaming myself and stop trying to fix it in the moment and beat myself up because I can't do it. And instead, I'm going to learn how to trade out my pantry. This is where that part of the blueprint that I've created for you guys comes from. Okay. So the blueprint of transformation, where you are able to, you take the easy step. The easy step is to start the targeted supplementation, right? That's the easy step. What did I do with them? Here they are. This is the easy step. Super easy. I say this all the time. Doing this easy. Doing this easy, right? So step number 1. Step number 2, like getting into, let's say step number 2 for you is kind of sticking around my content, etc., so that you can feel encouraged and you can get a little more understanding. And then you kind of maybe move into the group, right, where we have the 5-day challenges, and you begin to take on every month. I'm going to do a challenge, and some of y'all are on like your 11th challenge, because every month you're not looking for overall, you're just going to overhaul everything you've ever learned overnight. And you're just going to you're going to fix it now by Monday, or you're a loser. That's not this at all. So that blueprint of transformation is get your body to function from the inside out. That's something that you can do with like almost no thought. You can have your supplements set out the night before. Okay, that's easy. Or in the morning, whatever, and you grab them. Perfect. This is literally from the Dollar Tree. This is how I keep my supplements. I know that might not work for everybody's brain. Bring it on. Tell me in the comments how this would never work for you. Most people it wouldn't work for. This has worked for me like a charm for a very, very long time. I mean, years and years. And it slides right into my purse. I have it with me. That's for me. Everybody has to do their own organization. And I get that. But the point being that that's the easy part. But then maybe you do a challenge and you take out just one nugget. Oh, I could trade out that ingredient. I could trade out that recipe. 1, maybe 2 for the whole week. Okay. But then you come back again next month, and then next month, and then next month. And by the time you have done your targeted supplements and challenges for X amount of months, you're becoming a completely different person. But it's one step at a time. But you're forcing that next step. So that's why I always say, if you feel led to reach out to me about the trio, those 3 supplements, don't self-sabotage in the moment. Force the next step. Knowledge and good information is just an advantage. It doesn't mean that you don't have to take everything to its end degree, but getting good information is just beneficial, right? All right. So your brain loves familiarity. So you need to break that cycle with conscious action, like reaching out to me, let's say. Example, if your pattern is avoiding risk, do the opposite in small intentional ways. Now, you can have a coach or a community, and that is what I just described. So maybe I know so many of you, you're just on my content almost like every single day, or you're catching the replay because you understand the benefit of being encouraged over and over and over again, right? This is why so many of you might just follow my content. Your subconscious needs external accountability to rewire itself. So people will be like, so why do you do what you do? Why, so much like, free content or whatever? Well, because I'm understanding the process. I walked it. So having daily accountability, having daily opportunity to rewire your brain, you guys, I'm going to teach you how to fish this way. So this isn't just about a transaction. This is about, let me teach you how to fish, because what have I said? 5 years from now, I want you to say, well, I wonder whatever happened to that Kirsten Liebelt lady. She taught me how to actually still be a foodie and how to drop 3 sizes like she did in her 50s. She taught me how to view food as how to eat so that I wasn't spiking my blood sugars instead of punishing myself for maybe having to stop eating Snicker bars. That might have been me. Right? So instead of punishing yourselves, learning how your body functions, take your emotion out of it, and you can get better success. And then the last one is using empathy as a tool. This was interesting. He said, be kind to yourself as you rewrite your old programming. Do you see why this resonated with me yesterday? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to teach on this tomorrow, because this literally is basically what I created from my own experience to hand to you. And I don't know, like, he was telling my story through this training, or he was telling my chronological order almost through this training, and it was really impacting for me. So be kind to yourself as you rewrite your old programming. Instead of beating yourself up, acknowledge that your brain was designed to keep you safe. Now you can retrain it. Okay, so you're not having a hard time because you're lame, or you're a loser, or you don't have willpower, or it is just what it is, and you're too old. No. All you have to do is be okay with actually doing a tiny bit of assessing and realizing that there was a subconscious computer, like, what's my word that I want to use? Like a computer system, a computer, like, what would that be? A chronological, like a, like a pattern. There's a computer pattern that is available and written into us just because we were so fearfully and wonderfully made. And that computer is very powerful. And it started when we were born. And by the time we were 7, it was already determining what was safe and what was not safe. And so it's just trying to keep you safe and comfortable. And what was the word that he used in here? Because I really liked it. How he said, oh, come on. Where was that? I probably had it in my notes. But it's working to keep you safe. Oh, protect and soothe. Protect and soothe. And so if something is not, so if all of a sudden you come up against, you're in a social setting and everybody is eating all of your favorite food because it's your family reunion. And so, your aunt made that favorite dish and your sister made that favorite dish and whatever. And this is your family reunion, or this is your 4th of July. And every 4th of July, you get together and you have all of these amazing foods, and it's attached to all of this fun of playing games and whatever it is. And you've got all these things that are connecting. Well, all of a sudden, if you're trying to, in that moment, make this decision to go against that, you're feeling agitated, and your subconscious is wanting to step in and go, soothe, like protect and soothe. And I felt like that was very indicative of a lot of the steps that I've gone through. Does that make sense? I'm going to look at some comments because I know that I was missing them. Patty was tracking. That's great. How did I get my husband to transition his food? That's a good question. Let me just talk about that for a second. I love that, one ingredient at a time. Yeah. And it has to be, and it's okay. It's, it is it's a process of, I think, deprogramming ourselves from the marketing that has taken place when it comes to weight loss programs. And it started probably when we were young. I was probably encouraged to diet at the age of 11. And just think about how that was even before my autopilot was totally kicked in. And so that told me that me being the size that I was, or the weight that I was, and I don't remember what it was or anything, but that there was something wrong with that there was, and then it went into that whole thought process of, and you guys have helped me with this before, nothing feels, how does that go, you guys? Maybe you'll help me again. Nothing is as good as thin feels, or something like that. And so you get this programming from society or from whatever, and you really do, like, you're just striving for that your entire life. But now if we can take that off of the table and talk about insulin resistance, then it gives you a scientific conversation. Now you can rewire your brain with science, meaning, oh, I'm not eating that because I'm punishing myself. I'm choosing to not eat that because it's going to spike my blood sugar so badly. And I already have a high A1C and I don't want to do that. And then I don't want to crash this afternoon. I like have things to do, that kind of stuff. You're never too skinny or too rich. That's a good one. That is a good one. Oh man. Do you see how these things get into us? So I had to look at things like this where it was like, okay, if I'm going to eat something and it's going to spike my sugar, which is going to call on more insulin, which is going to then work against me because my cell is already closed to insulin. And so now it's going to store more fat. I'm going to find a trade out. So that's what I began to do. Okay, well then how can I just make a better version of that? Maybe I can't stop my emotional eating in the moment or my bored eating or my stressed eating or whatever, but I can change what I'm choosing. So that became really strong inside of me. Oh, I can still be a foodie. That's why I have my pantry and fridge day in the group during the challenge, because it's not about, oh, now you have to go from eating an amazing pastry to a rice cake and hate your life. I mean, honestly, think about that. Like, instead of eating this amazing, wonderful, flavorful, satisfying food or treat, here, have a rice cake. Just shove it down and enjoy it. You're getting skinny. I mean, come on, that's the dumbest. That is the dumbest messaging we could ever be given. That's stupid. I'm sorry. It's lame. So anything else that's like, here's your $1,200 a month prepackaged program. All the work's been done for you. It tastes like trash, but all the work's been done for you. So you just be grateful now, okay? I despise that thought process. No, when you are insulin resistant, you're just changing the lens. Okay, so now she wants to know how I got my husband. Well, while I was changing my lens of how to lose weight, realizing, oh, I woke up. Oh, if my insulin is high, I can't burn fat. What are you talking about? Oh, if my liver is tired, I can't burn fat. What? It's my fat metabolizing organ. Like I learned things like that and I went, oh, okay. So I guess I don't want more insulin. So I'm going to find an alternative. I think I'll start working on figuring out how to use those sweeteners after all. I think I will learn I started watching people on, YouTube or whatever, and they were, keto this and keto that. And I'm like, well, I don't understand it and I don't get all the basics of it or whatever, but I can at least learn a new recipe. And I was never going to come online and teach keto ever, because there was so much muddiness and so much confusion. And oh my gosh, the judgment of what other people eat is just obnoxious. It's like, oh, geez, Louise. I mean, so that's how I felt. And so it took me a long time. I'm a little slow to the party. But what I understood was, okay, this is actually how you benefit the fastest. You benefit the fastest by stopping what got you into the pickle to begin with. So inside of my house, I basically had to just kind of stand up inside of me and say, this is talking to you now, Patty, I'm going to fix my health. I'm going to take care of me. So if you're hungry and you don't like what I'm making, if whatever, I can make you whatever, it depends on your own boundaries and whatever. Like, I'm not saying you have to do it like me, but I kind of was like, how to get yourself food, like you can grab stuff too. Otherwise I'm going to make, like, let's say a pan of this keto lasagna, which actually tastes terrific. You just don't know it yet. So I'm going to make this pan of keto lasagna where, like, I learned from Maria Emmerich to use sliced deli chicken breasts for, like, at a deli, whatever, they slice it on like a number 2 instead of noodles. Listen, I'm Italian. You think it was hard for me to even consider doing that? A little bit. So I would make that and I'd be like, this tastes freaking amazing. And I adopted the attitude, Patty, that You just don't know what I'm eating is good yet. So I did not badger. I wanted everybody to pay zero attention to what I was doing. You let me just be on my journey, and that's your gift to me. And then if you like what I'm eating, that's great. And if you don't, go grab something else from the fridge. But I am now in my early 50s. I just turned 60. So in my early 50s, I was 51. But I just turned 51. I think I've earned a season of taking care of me and my health. So I just didn't apologize to anybody. And I went on my own journey. And if he still wanted me to buy certain ingredients for the house, fine, whatever. That has nothing to do with me. And your opinion of what I'm eating has nothing to do with me. It has something to do with you. You love that, but he's the one that does most of the cooking because he loves to cook. Well, Patty, then you might have to find some recipes that you can introduce into that rotation, or now you have to be the one. Let him cook what he's going to cook, and you be the one to go have a little section in the fridge for yourself. Because I actually don't, yes, of course I cook because you're cooking if you fry an egg, right? But I'm very streamlined in my food. It's just a success principle. Like if you're going to, make yourself a chicken thigh in the air fryer with some asparagus and eat your protein and, your greens. But I would say probably the simplicity of that with him would possibly be, if he's not focusing food around protein, make that your first goal. Like, how can we get more protein into our diet? How can we be protein centric? Whether that mean you have non-fat Fage Greek yogurt in the refrigerator that you can sweeten and put cinnamon in for yourself, whether or not that means that you have certain meats available to you that you can be eating for, hamburger patties or whatever at lunch, etc., or like you're doing a keto lasagna, an egg bake, things like that you can have in pans. And you might have to maybe, if he's like, I hate egg bake, I think egg bake is the worst thing in the entire world. You go right ahead, honey, have your egg bake, then make an egg bake and just have it in your fridge for yourself then, because you can take one square, heat it up, eat it, you're happy, that kind of stuff. But yeah, if he does not know how to cook the way you need to be cooked for, then yep, you're just gonna have to tell him, I'm taking a different route. And it's okay. It has to be okay. We have to get to the point where we're all adults in the room and we're not offended by each other's choices. We got to get to this point where it's like, and trust me, it took a long time. I'm not even saying it didn't take a long time. So when I raised my kids on 20 acres, we homeschooled for 20 years. And when we lost everything in 2008, in February of 2008, before the real estate market crashed, my husband's company did a reorganization and he lost his job at the beginning of February 2008. And then at the end of August, my youngest son had an ATV accident where he was at somebody's cabin in Wisconsin and he rammed right into a tree and shattered his orbital bone. He was airlifted to a hospital, put in a coma, all of the things. And then the following month, the stock market crashed. Okay. So a lot happened in a little bit of time. And, going through things like that, where you have zero resources, you have a lot of resources, but in the middle of that going, I just need to take care of me and my health, really made a difference. But during that time, I had to go out, I had to leave the house and go work a job at a clinic, a medical clinic. And, the minute I left, I was still getting phone calls. So what's for supper tonight? And where's the food? And did you buy this? And I'm like, you have eyes and you're an adult, figure it out. Like anybody who would text me or call me or whatever. I'm like, seriously, I have so taken care of you guys that, I've trained you really well. And so it took time to shift that. Stop calling me, open the cupboard. Stop calling me, open the cupboard, that kind of a thing, or go to the store, It's on the corner. I'm just saying, because we're all in our habits, right? And so it's the same thing though. So anybody who's cooking for you, then you either have to know where you're able to interject to help them make a different decision about even just one meal at a time. Hey, instead of Taco Tuesday being that way, could we try Taco Tuesday this way? I just did tacos last night. Egg life wrap, cheddar cheese, taco meat, salsa, and I actually put in a couple of pieces of chili lime pork rinds from like Walmart, the Great Value brand. And so it was like what do you have when you're at Taco Bell? I wouldn't know because I'm not a Taco Bell person, but I know the ads, the crunchy, whatever, the crunch wraps. Anyway, so I just did my own whatever. So it's all about trading out ingredients. And I promise you, you can. But that's why then get into the group. If you are not in the group, and I think you already are, Patty, but I'll teach you how to take a pantry that looks like this. You can still make the same foods that you love to eat. We're just going to use this pantry, and you're going to learn how to use new ingredients. And it will take half a minute, right? Because you have to learn that new language a tiny bit, but it's so worth it. Because what if you could, I always say that when it comes to like supplements, I talk about the trio all the time. What if you could launch your body towards insulin sensitivity, like, whoa, fall towards it? What would that feel like? All of those symptoms that are so frustrating. I know that probably a lot of people really had a hard time on Super Bowl Sunday. So maybe you ate a lot of trash food. And maybe you woke up on Monday and you felt like trash. I actually was thinking about it this morning when I was like zhuzhing up my gut primer. I was like, I wonder how many people regret some of the decisions that they made on Super Bowl Sunday. Because maybe now you're constipated. Maybe you're bloated. Maybe your eyes are still puffy. Maybe your brain fog is still there. And maybe you just don't feel fresh. And like you're just not moving things through your system. Well, you can literally feel the opposite of that all day, every day. Like all the time. All the time. Your genes zip up the same because you dealt with your bloating. All day, every day. You're not foggy. You're not exhausted. You're not wanting to nap. You're not chasing carbs. You're not mean to yourself. You don't ache all the time. You can live a completely opposite life because of the way that you change out the way you're eating. But if you can work on your mindset, I'm telling you, you're going to solidify it. You're going to nail it into the board. You're going to really have a strong foundation. You did tell him, so hopefully it'll get better. And I know he's all for me to make it better. So see how it goes. But I love your good info. You're welcome, Patty. And again, look in the group for the keto lasagna. The sugar-free chocolate pudding is really good. The keto granola would be helpful. The breakfast chili is freaking amazing. You would love that. That's a chorizo. And again, anything that you can make in a batch and have it in the fridge really helps a lot. So if you could feed him recipes and then message me and say, hey, whatever, if you need another recipe for something, I could always help you find something because you could feed him recipes to try within the wheelhouse of how he cooks. So if you need like a trade out, let me know and I'll try to help you with that. But if you need help right away today, if you need help right now and you're like, okay, doggone it, fine. We just had this conversation about understanding that my 7-year-old subconscious is just trying to keep me safe and soothe me. And so that's why anytime I step out of soothing, which we do with food, anytime I try to step out of that or deny myself, I'm just on autopilot. And so I just keep defaulting back because that uncomfortability, et cetera. So if you want to have something launched, this is why people choose injections. Because if the injection can help you with the food noise, the appetite, the sugar craving, et cetera, well, that's the exact same thing that I teach, except for it's not an injection, it's supplements. So if you want help with your sugar craving so you don't feel like a crazy person or you need help with your appetite control, etc. That's where the trio comes in. That's usually the conversation I have first with everybody, just FYI. And then if you're like, but I also want to deal with my gut, I do have the gut reset protocol. So anything that I talk about, you can DM me. Just get into my messages and tell me, I want information on the trio. I want information on, can I get the free protein guide? Can I get information on the gut reset protocol? I have got to deal with my constipation and my bloating and my leaky gut, etc. Maybe you want information on the group, etc. It's called, you can search it yourself, because like on Instagram, I can't send you, the link doesn't work well in Instagram Messenger, and TikTok, I can't send anything clickable, but it's called Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. So you want to launch, grab supplements. Let's launch. The next challenge will be in the group in March. March. I'm jumping towards, can you feel? I'm literally leaping towards the summer. March will be our next challenge. It won't be the first week. I don't have a calendar on me. It'll be the second week of March, because I am going to take a few days and go to Florida at the beginning of March with my hubby. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can do for you. When you get in the group, you will eventually get tagged in a free PDF that is pantry and recipes. So as much as I can possibly give you around to create that blueprint of transformation around your own routine of targeting your supplements so that you can make a difference and like lunge into results this year. That's what I want to do for you. So whether you need to lose 40 pounds, whether you need to lose 20 pounds, whether you just need to get your sugars down, whatever it is, these are all of those testimonies. So, all right. Have such an amazing day. Oh, good. Yes, he loves lasagna. That's wonderful. You're going to do it without him. No, I see what he thinks. I'm telling you, Patty, it's one of the most transformative recipes. And it's not mine. I don't create the recipes. I find them. I have yet for anybody to tell me that they didn't think that was an amazing trade out. Not one person. And we have over 5,000 people in the group. Now, I know not all 5,000 have made the recipe, but I'm just saying that there are a lot of people who have made, it's a Maria Emmerich recipe, keto lasagna. It's amazing. So, all right. Have a super blessed day, and I'll see you back here again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. We do this Monday through Friday, unless I am traveling or it's a holiday. And I can't wait to jump off and answer all your questions and get into my DMs and talk to you like one-on-one and get to know you. So